Hi folks, Dr. Hopewell and Dr. Lynn here, back for the next section in your introduction. Dr. Lynn has several items that she would like to address in this video, and so I will turn it over to her.
Okay, so first of all, one thing to just kind of wrap your minds around is the introduction, that terminology. If you see that uh, name is introduction, bold-faced, centered, that means that it's a main section of your research proposal. So one of three sections. Introduction is the first one that appears in your proposal because you're going to give that reader a real brief but concise and clear idea of what your study's about. The second section, actually, when you submit your complete proposal at the beginning of ED 750 in the spring, will be your review of literature. That's provided for the reader who wants to know more about your study. And then the third section you'll be working on after this module, and that'll be the methodology. It helps some people to think about those sections like they're a chapter in the book. Okay, so think of the introduction as a chapter, if that's helpful to you. So you can see that main heading. So we know which section of the proposal we're reading here. The introductory paragraph, your task in the introductory paragraph is to capture the reader's attention and have them look at the main information that you're going to introduce them to and give them an understanding of in your paper. And they want to, many people will read this and decide, am I going to keep reading this or not? Is this something I'm interested in? So that first paragraph is really important. Give them clue what your study's about, get their curiosity piqued so they want to read more. You'll see one of the things that this student did in her introduction is inserted a direct quote. You can see that inset. Dr. Hopewell's going to call attention to that. That's something that very typically you might see later in a later paragraph, but not always in the opening paragraph, unless it's absolutely critical that expert's exact terminology is introduced in the very opening paragraph. That's the only time you use a direct quote. Otherwise, you want to paraphrase as much as possible. So think about that really carefully in terms of whether you want to do that. But she also gives the reader clues of, you see some experts that she's going to be referring to. So you see some citations in that first paragraph, which is very good to back up her statements. Now, the remaining paragraphs of this introduction, the first 1.5 to 2 pages of your introduction chapter, basically is a condensation of all the things that you learned when you wrote your review of literature. You really want to try to focus on 2, 3, 4 at the most main points and for that you found in the review of literature that helped build your understanding of your topic, and it builds a case towards why am I going to do a study focused on this specific topic. And so one paragraph, break those ideas down into their own paragraph. So you'll see in this first paragraph, she starts focusing on Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. And you'll see where she used italics to call attention to the multiple intelligence phrase. That's a writing technique used to capture the reader's attention. Oh, it's in italics, so this must be something that's important to the study. You don't want to use italics liberally. You want to just call attention to really key terms. Those key terms should also be something that you define later on in another section of your introduction. So you can see that she's focusing on kinesthetic activities as being essentially important. Musical intelligence was something that she feels was important, and she's calling attention to it because it's going to be relevant to her study. The next paragraph, you can see that she starts addressing another main point that she found in the literature. So you can see in a page and a half, she is calling attention to 2 main things that are relevant to her study. And she's supporting those with citations, and in some cases where the terminology and specific idea is important, she's using direct quotes. So Dr. Hopewell, will you highlight that direct quote right up there? Yeah, incorporating multiple intelligence theories into your understanding of reading process could be just such an approach. So she called attention to that specifically because that was the ta-da that really supports the purpose of her study. The other thing that I'll call attention to, and on the right-hand margin, you'll see it says Vicki Lynn, and it's got a little person icon, and there's some comments there. This is what review mode looks like when you get your document back. So when we give you feedback on your review of literature, you'll see that. It gives you specific comments that you can reply to, or just know what we're guiding you to. And also review mode is a great tool to save you time in editing. In D2L content for this module, we provide a review mode guide that gives you the how to use it to save you time and energy and make your editing more efficient. So make sure and check into that document. Dr. Hopewell, anything you want to add about the introduction, the opening of our introduction?
Nope, I think it's sit down and think very carefully about what the main ideas of your paper will be, the main ideas of what came from your literature review. We were going to talk about that in our next video, but be thinking carefully about being simple and straightforward with this. You don't need to get too deep into your study right away.
Thanks.
See you at the next video.